There's a dangerous moment in every dynamic, the moment she realizes she's no longer your priority. That's when behavior changes. Not because she suddenly cares more, but because she senses a shift in power. She may increase attention. She may test you. She may become emotional, seductive, confusing, even dominant. And if you react instead of observe, you'll lose the advantage you just created. Most men don't fail because they lost interest. They fail because they can't handle what happens after. In this video, I'm breaking down the 7 reactions women display when they feel their control slipping, and how to respond like a man who cannot be emotionally maneuvered. If you're here, it means you're ready to stop being emotionally maneuvered. So subscribe, like this video, and write one word in the comments. Control. Not for me, for you. Declaring it forces clarity. It's the first step toward responding instead of reacting. When you put that intention in writing, you start shifting your own position. And the next part of this video will show you exactly where that control begins, at the very first behavioral change she makes. Number 1, she becomes more attentive. The very first thing you'll notice when you genuinely pull back is not distance, it's attention. More texts, more questions, more sudden curiosity about your life, and if you're not careful, you'll misread it. When you stop initiating, when you stop chasing, when you stop pouring energy into her, she feels the shift immediately. Women are extremely attuned to changes in emotional investment. Attention, to her, is not just kindness. It's positioning, it's reassurance, it's control. Your attention validated her place in your life. When that validation weakens, something inside her tightens. So she leans in. She starts asking how your day was, in detail. She comments on your posts faster than before. She laughs at jokes she once ignored. She suddenly remembers that hobby you mentioned weeks ago and wants to know more about it. This isn't random. It's competitive instinct waking up. The moment she senses uncertainty, the possibility that she's no longer your priority, scarcity begins to form. And scarcity creates value. Now she's not fully sure where she stands. And that lack of certainty pulls her forward. Let me give you a simple example. You used to text her good night every evening. One day, you don't. You're busy. Or maybe you just don't feel like it anymore. Around midnight, your phone lights up. A meme, a hey stranger, a random check-in. That's not coincidence, that's recalibration. But here is where most men sabotage themselves. They get excited. They think, finally, she's putting in effort. So they respond instantly, enthusiastically. They reward the sudden attention with even more attention. And just like that, the dynamic resets. Listen carefully. She is not more attentive because she loves you more. She is more attentive because she feels her position slipping. There's a difference. If you rush to match her energy out of ego or relief, you give her back the reassurance she was searching for. And once she feels secure again, the extra effort fades. Your job here is simple. Stay steady. Respond, but don't overinvest. Acknowledge, but don't chase. Let her lean in without you collapsing forward. Because the moment you overreact to her increased attention, you teach her that all she has to do to regain control is try a little harder. And that's a game you don't want to play. Number 2, she tests your resolve. The moment she senses that your pullback might be real, she doesn't panic immediately. She tests. Because before a woman adjusts her behavior, she needs to know one thing. Is he truly pulling away? Or is he just emotional? Women test stability, not because they're cruel, but because instability is dangerous. If your withdrawal is just wounded pride, frustration, or a temporary mood, she knows you'll break under pressure. So she applies pressure. She might suddenly become colder, shorter replies, delayed responses, less enthusiasm, not to detach, but to see if you'll chase. or she casually mentions another man. Oh, I've been hanging out with someone new lately. And then she watches you. Not your words, your face, your tone, your reaction. Because in that moment, she's measuring your emotional control. Another version? She cancels plans last minute. She becomes busy. She reduces effort and waits to see if you double down. Most men fail here. They explain themselves. They ask what changed. They overtext to restore connection. Or worse, they react emotionally and try to compete. And the second you do that, the test is over. You failed. Understand something clearly. If you were truly losing interest, you wouldn't need to defend it. If you were truly grounded, her coldness wouldn't shake you. Tests are not about hurting you. They are about locating your emotional center. When she mirrors your distance, she's asking silently, are you strong? Or are you pretending? If you rush to reassure her, you communicate that your withdrawal was a tactic, not a standard. If you argue, you communicate insecurity. If you get jealous, you communicate fear of loss. But if you stay calm, measured, unreactive, now she has new data, and that data changes how she sees you. The correct move here is simple, but not easy. Match energy. Don't over-explain. Don't fight for position. If she becomes distant, you don't panic. If she hints at other options, you don't compete. If she pulls back, you don't collapse forward. You remain steady. Because here's the truth most men don't want to hear. Tests don't destroy men. Reactions do. She is not trying to eliminate you. She is trying to see if you eliminate yourself. And the more emotionally disciplined you are in this phase, the more she begins to respect what she can no longer control. Number 3, she becomes emotionally unpredictable. When she realizes your distance isn't temporary, the emotional shift intensifies. This is where things start to feel confusing. One day she's warm. The next day, she's cold. One moment she misses you. The next, she accuses you of changing. This isn't randomness. It's internal conflict. When a woman feels her control slipping, two forces begin fighting inside her: attraction and ego. Her attraction may increase because you're no longer predictable. Scarcity activates desire. The uncertainty pulls at her curiosity. But her ego hates losing position. So she swings. She might send you a thoughtful message in the morning, telling you she appreciates you, that she's been thinking about you. And by evening, she's irritated. You've been different lately. You don't care like you used to. You see warmth and hostility in the same week, sometimes in the same conversation. That emotional volatility isn't weakness. It's recalibration under pressure. She is trying to figure out where she stands, and she's using emotional fluctuation to regain footing. Some women escalate this further. Sudden jealousy, picking arguments over small things, accusing you of pulling away, becoming more dramatic than usual. And this is where many men make the fatal mistake. They try to fix her emotions. They over-apologize. They explain themselves repeatedly. They think, if I can just stabilize her mood, everything will go back to normal. But understand this clearly. If she is the storm, and you try to become the wind, you both spin. Your role is not to decode every signal. Your role is not to neutralize every mood shift. Your role is stability. When she senses that her emotional swings do not destabilize you, something shifts again. She begins to see you as grounded rather than reactive, detached rather than desperate. If she sends warmth, you respond calmly, not overly excited. If she pulls away, you don't chase clarity. If she becomes critical, you don't crumble. You stay centered. Because the moment you start dancing to her emotional rhythm, you hand her back control. Let me say this in a way you won't forget. If she is the storm, you must be the ground, not the leaves. Leaves react. Ground endures. Emotional unpredictability is not her trying to hurt you. It's her testing whether your center can be shaken. And if it can't, your value rises without you saying a word. Number 4, she tries to reignite your interest. When emotional swings don't pull you back, she changes strategy. She stops testing. She starts attracting. Because now the question in her mind isn't, will he react? It's, how do I make him want me again? This is where you'll see a noticeable shift in effort. She upgrades her appearance, dresses sharper, looks more intentional around you, subtle changes in makeup, hairstyle, body language. She becomes more aware of how she presents herself when you're present. This isn't accidental. Women understand visual triggers. They know attraction is partly stimulated through what you see. So, if your emotional response isn't working, she leans into physical desirability. You might also notice a softer tone, more playful energy, more laughter, more flirting. She reminds you of inside jokes, shared memories. Remember when we used to becomes a common phrase. That's not nostalgia. That's re-anchoring. She's reconnecting you to positive emotional experiences you once associated with her. She wants your mind to relive the comfort, the chemistry, the familiarity. Because if she can revive the feeling, she can revive the position. Here's a simple scenario. She used to show up casually when meeting you. Now she walks in dressed like she has somewhere important to be after. She's glowing, intentional, slightly different, and she watches your eyes. Not to admire her, to measure impact. But this is where many men lose discipline. They interpret increased effort as transformation. They think, she changed, she's different now. No. Effort that appears after losing control is not growth. It's strategy. And that doesn't mean it's malicious. It means it's reactive. The worst thing you can do here is immediately reward the shift with renewed emotional investment. Because if you collapse the moment she tries harder, she learns something powerful. She doesn't need consistency. She just needs a trigger. Your job isn't to reject her effort. Your job is to observe it. Consistency over time is character. Sudden intensity under pressure is reaction. So stay steady. If she flirts, you stay grounded. If she looks stunning, you remain composed. If she reminisces, you don't melt into the past. Let her invest. Let her show. Let her demonstrate alignment over time, not just when she feels you slipping away. Because when a woman tries to reignite your interest, she's not just trying to win you back. She's trying to regain influence. And influence only returns if you surrender it. Number 5. She plays mind games. If emotional swings didn't shake you, if attraction tactics didn't pull you back, now it becomes psychological. This is where confusion enters the room. She becomes ambiguous about her feelings. One day she acts detached, almost as if she's over you. The next night she sends a late message that feels intimate, warm, suggestive. She posts something cryptic on social media, a photo with someone you don't recognize, a quote about new beginnings. Just enough to spark a question in your mind, but not enough to give you clarity. That's intentional. Ambiguity creates tension. Tension creates emotional movement. And emotional movement is what she's trying to provoke in you. Because if she can't regain control through affection, she'll try through uncertainty. You may notice jealousy bait, casual mentions of other men, stories about how someone asked her out, comments designed to test whether you flinch, and again she watches. Not for what you say, for what leaks through your composure. There's also guilt. She might remind you of what she's done for you, the effort she invested, the memories you shared. She might subtly position herself as the one who tried harder. If I meant so much, why did you pull away? That question isn't about resolution. It's about leverage. Psychologically, this creates cognitive dissonance. You begin questioning yourself. Were you too cold, too distant, too harsh? And in that internal doubt, she regains ground. Most men collapse here. They chase clarity. They ask where they stand. They defend their intentions. They overcorrect. But understand this clearly. Confusion is a tool. If you are confused, she is leading the dynamic. The antidote isn't confrontation. It isn't emotional retaliation. It's detachment. You don't chase answers. You don't compete for reassurance. You don't let guilt override your standards. If her behavior is inconsistent, you let inconsistency reveal itself. If she hints at options, you don't react. If she tries to make you question your decision, you return to your center. Because the moment you scramble to regain clarity, you've already surrendered power. Let me make this unmistakable. Confusion is a weapon. And if you're confused, she's winning. Stay calm. Stay observant. Stay unmoved. Mind games only work on men who need validation. And the moment she realizes you don't, the games lose their grip. Number 6. She attempts to reassert dominance. When confusion doesn't shake you, when mind games don't pull you back, the dynamic becomes direct. This is where power surfaces openly. Instead of subtle manipulation, she shifts into dominance moves. She may start downplaying your value, making small, cutting remarks, questioning your behavior in ways that feel slightly dismissive. You're not as attractive when you act distant. That line isn't feedback, it's pressure. She's trying to destabilize your confidence just enough to make you recalibrate toward her approval. You might also notice comparisons, mentions of other men, not flirtatious this time, but comparative. Subtle signals that she has options, comments implying you're replaceable, or she reclaims control over communication. Longer response times, sudden cancellations, reduced availability. Not because she's uninterested, because she wants to reset the hierarchy. Dominance attempts are ego defense mechanisms. When control slips, the ego protects itself by trying to lower the perceived value of what it might lose. If she can make you feel smaller, she feels bigger. And this is where many men sabotage their position completely. They argue. They defend their character. They try to prove their worth. But the moment you defend your value, you lower it. Value that must be explained sounds insecure. Value that must be debated sounds fragile. If she criticizes you for being distant, you don't justify it. If she cancels plans, you don't rearrange your schedule. If she becomes dismissive, you don't seek reassurance. You remain calm, indifferent, focused on your own priorities, because dominance only works when the other person reacts. If she senses that her attempts to provoke insecurity don't move you, something subtle happens. Respect grows. Not because you overpowered her, but because you refuse to compete for position. A man who stays steady under status pressure communicates something powerful. I am not negotiating my self-worth. And that message lands deeper than any argument ever could. Number 7. She pursues you more aggressively. If you stayed steady through the attention, unmoved through the tests, grounded through the emotional swings, unshaken by the mind games and dominance attempts, something flips. When a woman realizes she can no longer control your attention and none of her strategies destabilize you, the fear of loss becomes real. And real loss triggers pursuit. You'll see it clearly. She initiates more often. She checks in without reason. She becomes available in ways she never was before. The woman who used to be busy suddenly has time. The woman who waited for you to plan now suggests meeting up. The woman who played it cool now expresses desire more directly. This isn't coincidence. This is scarcity psychology at full activation. When something feels less accessible, its perceived value rises. And when a woman senses that your emotional availability is no longer guaranteed, competitive drive intensifies. She may try harder than ever to stand out. Highlight what makes her different. Emphasize how well she understands you. Position herself as irreplaceable. Because now the risk is no longer theoretical. It's tangible. But here's where discipline matters most. Many men relax here. They celebrate too early. They think, I won. And the moment they feel secure again, They soften their standards. They overcommit. They overprioritize. They rearrange their lives to match her renewed effort. And slowly, the dynamic shifts back. Understand this clearly. Her pursuit is not the finish line. It is a response to your stability. If you abandon that stability, the attraction fades again. So when she leans in harder, you do not overextend. You let her invest. You allow her effort to continue. You don't reorganize your priorities just because she's suddenly enthusiastic. Because when you become scarce, you become valuable. And value is sustained not by chasing, but by consistency. Her aggressive pursuit is not about romance. It's about resecuring position. And the only way that position changes permanently is if you decide to hand it back. Now you see the pattern. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, she doesn't simply walk away. She reacts. First, she leans in with attention. Then, she tests your stability. Then, her emotions fluctuate. Then, she tries to attract you again. Then come the mind games. Then the power moves. And finally, if you remain grounded, the pursuit. None of this is random. It's not because she hates you. It's not because she suddenly loves you more. It's because the power dynamic shifted. And when control shifts, behavior adjusts. The mistake most men make isn't losing interest. It's reacting emotionally when the reaction begins. They get flattered by the attention, shaken by the tests, confused by the mixed signals, hooked by the mind games, provoked by the dominance, and in those reactions, they hand the power back. Let me leave you with this. Emotional discipline is more attractive than emotional intensity. A man who can hold his center, who does not chase reassurance, who does not defend his value, who does not crumble under pressure, becomes psychologically solid. And solid men are not easily manipulated. A man who keeps himself, keeps control. If you don't ever want to fall into these emotional traps again, make sure you subscribe. Comment control below if you understand that power begins with self-command. And share this with a man who needs to wake up. Because respect isn't chased, it's enforced.